Great. Well, good afternoon, good morning, Anna and Tomás. Thanks so much for making time. How are you all?
Good morning. I'm doing great over here in Rome. It's afternoon already and excited about this being Creation Day, the kickoff of the season of creation. So it's a great day to chat about GCCM and anything creative.
I'm doing well too. Good. Yeah, I'm in St. Louis for the week, visiting family, usually in Long Beach, California. So definitely is still morning over here in St. Louis. And we just had a really amazing prayer service to kick off Season of Creation this morning that was multilingual, multicultural, just spiritual, prayerful, beautiful, beautiful time for folks to come together. So doing well.
Yeah, it was really nice, wasn't it? With the youth leading it and the different regions of the world. Very beautifully well done. So, and we'll have plenty more Season of Creation events, of course, coming. But today we wanted to talk a bit about, since it is the first GCCM podcast, a bit about the history of GCCM. It's not a long history, of course, just 5 years. And Tomás, you were among the co-founders, the 17 organizations and 12 leaders who formed GCCM 5 years ago. Looking back at that time, what were kind of the expectations for GCCM? What were kind of the thoughts even?
Well, so I would say, in terms of the expectations, I think we started gathering in late 2014, actually, when the rumors were kind of growing about this new encyclical that was coming. Pope Francis's encyclical, first time ever the church has a environment related encyclical in 2,000 years of history. So there was all this rumors building up, and of course also the momentum building up to the Paris Agreement. So I would say that GCCM is kind of the fruit of this very special moment, or kairos, the special time in which on one side, there's two very significant events that transform the way both the church and the human family relate to the climate crisis in particular, but the larger ecological question as well. So, it was in that atmosphere of these two major things coming up that we launched GCCM. And in our foundational statement, indeed, we quote. We mentioned this upcoming encyclical, and also with a strong eye. You asked me about expectations. I would say the expectations were, on one side, to help the Pope with this upcoming encyclical, given it's a new issue for the church, but it's an ancient issue also for the church. But I think everybody. So that's one goal: help the church with implementing this upcoming encyclical. And second, to bring a very strong voice to the Paris summit. So bringing Catholics rallying behind the Pope, calling for ambitious action at COP21, the Paris Climate Summit. So that was a little bit of how we got started. Happy to share more if there was.
Yeah, of course. So it was always rooted, obviously, in kind of, as we start the Season of Creation, it was always rooted in that prayer and action of like the annual celebration of Season of Creation, helping the Pope, the prayer, the more spiritual side, but then the action of COP21, of course.
Yeah, that's correct. The image we like to use for this prayer and action is probably the image or the paradox of going slow and going fast. Or there are multiple images to use that to illustrate it, but it could be the image of breathing. We're taking in our eco-spirituality, our connection, our reconnection to the earth, and all creation is our kind of slowing down and taking in, being nurtured by creation. The ecological crisis is just so severe, so urgent, that it requires us to act really fast. So that's our fast-paced activism, if you want, and it's kind of giving back. And we're doing both things. We're going fast and going slow simultaneously. We as in the act of breathing, we're inhaling and exhaling all the time, back and forth, back and forth. That's what we're trying to do at GCCM, is embodying this paradox of needing to slow down. The ecological crisis requires us to slow down, to reconnect, and at the same time requires us to move really fast. So yeah, in a nutshell, I think that has been something deeply embedded. I would say, to be honest, like 2015, if I have to look back, we were pretty much on the fast side of things, and like we need to like ourselves really quickly to make a difference for the COP21 summit. So I would say most of 2015 was like in fast-paced mode. Although I should clarify, in 2015, we started already we had a few initiatives that had an eco-spirituality angle, but I would say the season of creation, we also started it in 2015. That was the year when we kicked off the season of creation celebration, let's say. So we had a little bit of both. Probably in 2016, we started balancing the slow and fast a bit more. And since then, we're trying to embrace that paradox and do both.
For sure. And Anna, how does that, you've been here since November, is that right? So about a year. How does that work, that slow and fast on a day-to-day basis, as we're trying to work against the ecological crisis and prevent climate change, and also, grow spiritually and as for creation and care for creation?
Yeah, well, I think a recent example would be our monthly team retreat days that we've just started having for our staff. Just a few weeks ago, we had our first day-long individual self-guided eco-spirituality retreats. And I remember thinking when we were going into it, like, what are we doing? One of our biggest moments is coming up in like 2 weeks. Why would we do this right now? And I didn't like say anything about it because I wanted to really be open-minded about how the day might unfold for me. And I'm really glad that I didn't give that critique before I had my day, because I feel like I got to experience what it means to be going slow and going fast at the same time, because I think through that, just that prayerful time for myself, being still, listening to both the beauty and the song of creation, but also the cry of creation, it really did sort of open my eyes to seeing things in a different way. And sort of out of nowhere, I had some really big insights into my work at GCCM and how we can do some type of a test where we're building more leadership training programs in kind of a quick way. So I think that's one way in which the slow and fast allow for us to have the kind of contemplative, reflective, prayerful space that allows for wisdom to emerge in a way that in more of a secular context, and if we were just going fast all the time, we, like breathing, might be running out of breath because we would not have created that time to actually like step back and learn from what we're doing.
Yeah, and Tomás, to touch on what Anna just said, that the foundation that we need to go slow, why does that matter? And in terms of the ecological conversion that Pope Francis has talked about, and that we're all striving, it's an ongoing process, but it happens, and then we're all kind of enduring that process. Why does that matter for this movement and for creation care overall?
An profound, but in the first place, it's a profound concept. But that, by the way, it was John Paul II, the first one to coin it. Pope Francis picks it up and deepens it, let's say, our understanding of what do we mean by ecological conversion. So I'd say why it's important. I mean, first, it's an end in itself. Just put the ecological crisis at the side for the moment. Let's go back, go forward 100 years and we solve the ecological crisis, or let's go back to just reconnecting with creation is a profound good in itself. In our Christian spirituality, come detached from creation. It's a long topic, probably deserves a podcast in itself. Like why throughout the centuries did Christianity lose? It's still there, but partially lose its attention to creation and the role of creation in our spirituality. Like, just think the example. I love to mention that the example of Jesus. So if you ask the average Christian, where do you pray? What's the place to pray? The average Christian would respond, oh, probably the church, or at home, or on the bus or the car, all indoors places. And you ask a follow-up question. So, and what about Jesus? Where did Jesus pray? And the person is fairly familiar with the gospel. We would say, well, actually, it's the mountain, it's the desert, it's the wilderness. And actually, the gospel, I think it's every single time, it's roughly 12 to 14 times in which Jesus is quoted praying praying. In all, it depends how you count exactly, but basically in 100% of cases in which Jesus is described praying outdoors, in all cases, he's praying for extended period of time. He's always praying outdoors. So for some reason, we lost that lost that attentiveness of seeing nature and seeing creation as a place of prayer. Not only a place of prayer, but also to pray with creation. So anyways, there's a lot. But in other words, there's something really big about just the Christian take on spiritual well-being that is profoundly connected to nature. And second, coming now to those are the timeless reasons for praying. A very timely reason for praying with creation as well, which is we have this existential threat, the ecological crisis in front of us. So this ecological conversion, just reconnecting with creation, accepting it and understanding it and seeing it as a gift, a loving gift from God that we need to care for, that we need to share and with future generations as well, and with other creatures as well. Having that profound understanding of the spiritual, let's say, or sacred nature of creation, will motivate us. And this is words from Pope Francis in Laudato Si. This ecological conversion, this ecological spirituality, he uses the expression of ecological spirituality, will help us will motivate us to go through the hard changes that are needed to undergo this crisis. So all these lifestyle changes that are needed, just the hard activism that we have to engage in to get governments and corporations to do the right thing, just require a very strong spiritual motivation. So in other words, the ecological conversion then there are timeless and timely reasons for doing it.
For sure, yeah. And it's to touch on that thought, Tomas. You mentioned Pope John or Saint John Paul II now, and Anna, to talk about. It's funny because people will, Laudato Si is so prominently mentioned and is so, it's such a key part of our work, of course, but the work goes much, much, much deeper than 5 years ago when Laudato Si was written and published. It's thousands of years, right? When that's how we communicate, and that's the reality of it as well.
Yeah, I think, well, just kind of jumping off of what Tomas was saying, having that ecological conversion is an end in and of itself. And since a good piece of my work is focused on bringing people into action, I think having that contemplative practice allows people to really root more deeply into their purpose. And if our house is on fire, which we know that it is when we listen to the science, we can't really act if we are numb to the pain of the world. That's not like the correct response if your house is on fire, to just like flip to the next channel or go back to sleep. We need to be kind of awake to the pain of the world and the suffering in the world. And I think that's the other part of ecological conversion is actually sitting with the suffering, so that our hearts are really opened, and our sense of kind of innate, like human response to survival is sort of activated, so that we can respond with the urgency that this moment requires.
And of course, we can look back at, for the inspiration, we can look back at thousands of years of the Catholic Church and many, 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 many saints and leaders and popes and religious sisters. And there's a long history, of course, of creation care in the Catholic Church. So what has been, and either of you can answer this, of course, what has been the most surprising thing, Tomás, maybe for you as GCCM has grown, and then Anna, we can come back to you in your about a year here. What has been the thing that has stood out the most to you, Tomás, or the most surprising thing about this growing movement, or just something that's really stood out to you as?
What stood out? That's a good question. For me, it's probably the nature, the global and local, or the glocal nature, as some people say in the environmental movement, this local paradigm of thinking global and acting locally. In our Christian context, I would probably change the think global for something like global solidarity or global connection or global communion. I don't know what. Would be interesting actually to try to come up with our own version of it. But I think it's at GCCM, it's beautiful to see that at play. I mean, being a global movement, as our name indicates, having this sense of global solidarity, or even spirit, as Laudato Si says, this spirituality of global solidarity, that we're all connected, that is embodied so well in so many different online driven initiatives that we have at GCCM. Just 2 hours ago, we had this beautiful prayer service to kick off the season of creation. It was beautiful just to hear. It was led other Christian groups, but it's pretty much the same vibe in our GCCM kind of prayer service. We have this as an example, this monthly online prayer services, and we hear from people from all continents. Just today, we had people, I don't know, ranging from Indonesia and the Philippines all the way to India, Africa, several African countries, Europeans, Latin Americans, US. That we're all in this together. We're one human family, and at GCCM, we're a global family as well within the large. Same time, that global community that we are, it's really interesting also as a phenomenon of this 21st century, this interconnected world in which we live in, that a couple of decades ago would have been impossible for other Catholic movements to have this. I mean, there have been plenty of international movements out there, but just technology makes it so different and so real in this current age. But at the same time, coupling that global community with local community. So as an example, for me, we have our Laudato Si circle here in Rome, 2.5 years roughly since I moved to Rome in early 2018. And it's been absolutely beautiful. It has been part of my GCCM experience as well, to have my local group with whom I gather on a regular basis. We pray together in creation, with creation, and we take action together. And as an example now for the season of creation, for the first time, we'll have a full season of creation program. Every Sunday, Well, in collaboration with other Laudato Si circles, so this is beautiful also to see how different Laudato Si circles are coming together. We're just in the early stages, like citywide chapter, and we have a common program and just taking action locally as well and having that local community. So if you ask me, that's probably, there are lots of things I love about GCCM, but that's probably one of the most interesting ones.
So Rome, just to touch on that. So Laudato Si circles in Rome are meeting up together to form just this giant Roman Laudato Si circle. Do you still call it a circle then? Is it something even, I don't even know what, it's just something even bigger and better?
Sorry, what was the question again?
It's okay. Just to understand, so Laudato Si circles are meeting up the Laudato Si circles in Rome are meeting up, like combining their circles almost during the season of creation.
Correct. Yes. So yeah, the Laudato Si circles are these local Laudato Si groups, kind of local GCCM groups that started about 2.5 years ago. It's kind of halfway through the history of the young history of GCCM. Taking action, going slow and going fast as a community as well. We know that also from Laudato Si that the Pope says that an ecological conversion is a community conversion. So we need community. We cannot do this together alone. So yes, that's what Laudato Si circles are about. And in Rome, a couple of Laudato Si circles are starting to pop up besides ours. Ours has been the oldest one, but there are a few new ones emerging, and it's been beautiful to see how, this collaboration emerging and coordination among different circles. So we have this common season of creation program, etc. So, really interesting to see this playing out in the Diocese of the Pope.
Fantastic, yeah. And Anna, what has been the most pleasantly surprising thing to you in your just about a year here? Of course, you should say you're Director of Network Engagement. I don't think I brought that up earlier, but just to give people some context as well.
Sure. I think I'll speak about two different things. The first was just, my very first day. I work early since I live on the West Coast and work with people around the globe. Joining our all-staff meeting and having a prayer at the beginning of the meeting and a prayer at the end of the meeting was a big surprise for me as somebody who'd come from a secular environmental organization. And it was a little, I'd say uncomfortable, just a little strange for me to have such a, prayerful organization that I was working at. They don't just, they live it, they mean it. And I think it's been one of the most pleasantly surprising aspects of my time with GCCM is just really coming to appreciate the, I think it has, prayer does a lot, but one of the aspects I've appreciated personally is just, it has a way of bringing us together and uniting us under a shared purpose. And I think it's also humbling. It's not really about anybody being right or anybody's egos or, any of the other things that go on when humans are in any organizational structure, to be able to kind of put some of that aside and just dive in together into the purpose of the work is really beautiful. I'll also say we talk a lot about how the Holy Spirit intervenes, and I feel like I witnessed that with our work around Laudato Si Week in May, which was the beginning of the 5-year anniversary of the encyclical being published. And that was, as we were preparing for that, the COVID crisis was really happening, and we had to recalibrate everything pretty quickly. Previously, we were encouraging people to have big events in person, which obviously was not a safe thing to be advocating for any longer, and had to really move very quickly to redesign all of the things that we were inviting people to participate in. And I remember thinking, okay, we're resetting our plans and our objectives and recalibrating to this moment that we're in. And we have these really ambitious goals. I don't know how we're going to get there, but here we go. And I remember my manager, the associate director, Christine Liano, saying, well, you haven't really been through one of our big moments yet. And it was quite telling because I was just blown away by the people who came along with us on this journey of changing course. I think a lot of folks really appreciated that we were attentive to the moment that we were in, and that we had thousands and thousands of people come along on this journey and be a part of Laudato Si Week, something that we had to change very quickly at the last minute. So I think that was kind of this moment of seeing, like, we don't just have like a bunch of people's names in a database. We don't have like numbers that we are showing off for some reason. We actually have a very powerful movement, and people are ready to come out and be a part of this powerful work when there's an opportunity to do so. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was quite the week, wasn't it? The 5th anniversary is, of course, as you said, of Laudato Si, and I think you said it well. It's a good movement and a growing movement. So I think we can even end there. Thank you both so much for your time, and I'm sure you all have many more things to do about the season of creation. So I'll let you go. Thank you again.
Can I say one thing about what people can do if
Of
they
course,
want to get involved?
Yes. Of course.
Great. Well, if you were someone who's just listening to this and new to GCCM, or maybe a Christian person or a person of goodwill who's not Catholic, really would encourage folks to head to seasonofcreation.org and register your interest in participating in Season of Creation, and you'll get a lot of really awesome information about how you can personally engage in this really powerful time that we're in to care and pray for creation. And we've got a great resource guide. Folks can do community cleanups or prayers, or learn about sustainable living, or do a cleanup for International Cleanup Day, or participate in the Global Day of Climate Action. So there's a bunch of different options for just about everyone. So head to seasonofcreation.org and register your interest. Thanks.
Thank you.
So we'll check out what's going on. There's an exciting, also I should mention, program of online events as well throughout the month. So yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, we encourage everybody to check out the calendar and just see the events, regional events, all kind of online events as well. So looking forward to celebrating this big season with you all. Thanks, Jonathan, for the invitation to have this chat. And whoa, very excited that we have our GCCM podcast. Thanks for making this happen. Looking forward to, and actually, I would just an invitation. Laudato Si is all about dialogue. So I don't know, even just the way this podcast are framed is the dialogues. I don't know, but that's what Laudato Si is all about. So looking forward to more dialogue.
Fantastic, exactly, yeah. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope it wasn't too painful. Thank you both. Talk to you soon.